Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar with Experian. So Experian is a global information services company, but what does that actually mean? And what can you, our STEM students, be involved in when you apply to their opportunities? So let's find out. We've got a lot to fit in. So let me introduce you first to Maria, who is a senior talent acquisition partner. We've worked with Maria for numerous years now. So Maria knows all about Gradcracker, is really excited to be joining this webinar today. And Maria is going to give us a bit of an insight into everything recruitment, so the whole recruitment process, hints and tips when you're applying, and which roles are currently open for you to apply to. So Maria, welcome. Could you tell us a little bit more about you and your role at Experian?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Carla mentioned, I'm the Senior Talent Acquisition Partner at Experian, and I've been at Experian since last April, so coming up to about a year now, actually. Yeah. And essentially within my role, I kind of lead our overall early careers recruitment at Experian, so working within our recruitment team. And so really that just means that I'll be a familiar face throughout, your whole kind of journey with Experian if you were to apply to us after today, because I'll be attending our assessment centres and part of the onboarding activities if you were to be successful. And then I'm also at our new joiner induction, kind of presenting different sessions as well. So I'm kind of involved in that whole end-to-end process, right through from attraction to people's first day. And one also fact really I like to mention is that I have also been a kind of early careers member myself as well. So I started off my career when I left A-levels a few years ago as an apprentice. And so I have also attended assessment centres myself. I've sat on the other side of the table. And so actually, hopefully that gives me quite a unique perspective into early careers, now sitting on the recruitment side as well.
Yeah, I've always liked that about you, Maria, because you do have like both points of view, haven't you? You know, you've been there, you've done that, you know how it feels, you know how apprehensive people get as well. Then you've been on the other side as well. So definitely Maria will be able to share some really insightful hints and tips. And so kind of watch this space on that. And Maria, an overview to Experian. So there'll be a lot of misconceptions about what Experian do and don't do. But how would you describe who you are as a business?
Yeah. So we're quite a complex business really, but to kind of, I guess, kind of summarize really. So ultimately we're a data company, and we are global. So we have about 20,600 employees working for us globally, in 44 countries across the globe. In terms of our UK presence, we have offices in London, Glasgow and Nottingham, Nottingham being our headquarters, and where I think everybody actually on the call, all of our graduates today are based as well. Yeah. And really in terms of kind of what we do or what we are, we're one of the largest providers of data in the world. And a common question people often ask is, you know, what do you actually do? Because it's quite complex and a lot of people think that we just do credit scores based on the company name. So really to answer it briefly, because our world is built on data, and it kind of grows in power and influence every day, there's always new data being collected. Essentially at Experian, we just work to turn that data into something meaningful. So we'll gather it, we'll analyse, combine and process all of that data. And essentially what we do is unlock the power of that data by kind of getting the insights and really just providing services to organisations, society and individuals as well, to help them achieve their goals as well. So when we ask that question, what do we do? And a lot of people say credit scores. That is true, and it's natural to say that because you might have seen some of Experian's TV adverts, you might have seen us on YouTube, you might have even used an Experian credit product yourself as well. But actually we operate so much more across than just credit scores, and lots of our grads on the call today will be talking to you about their roles and kind of the really exciting things that we get up to as well, kind of wider than that.
Always fascinates me what Experian do, because I've worked with you as a business for quite a few years, and you're right in saying that people just presume that you're a credit scoring company and there's just so much more that you can get involved in. So I'm really looking forward to sharing the graduates' journeys with everybody as part of this webinar, as well as getting to know the opportunities that are available to students to apply for. So Maria, I'm going to leave it there with you for a moment. I'll be back to you shortly, and I'm just going to do a quick spin around the room and meet the grads. So basically where they went to university and what did they study. So Jess, I'm going to start with you. So let us know more. So where did you go to uni and what did you study?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Jess, as Carla's just said, and I studied physics at the University of Nottingham.
Perfect. Thanks, Jess. Sid?
Hi, yeah, I'm Sid. I studied mathematics at Nottingham Trent University. I started off doing a normal degree and then I moved to the master's degree.
Oh, why did you change? That's an interesting one.
I just really enjoyed the maths degree and thought I might as well just keep going for another year. I wasn't quite ready to go into a job, I don't think. So I gave an extra year to myself.
Was your masters a lot harder than you expected, or was it kind of just like a smooth transition?
Just more like a continuation, just more maths basically.
Oh, brilliant. I was going to say, oh, brilliant. I don't like maths, but oh, brilliant for you. I couldn't think of anything worse. But as long as you're happy, Sid, then I'm happy. Anish, what did you study and where did you go to uni?
Hi, my name's Anish. I studied electrical electronic engineering at University of Bristol. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Perfect. University of Bristol, thank you very much. Close to Sophie's home. Kirsty?
I studied chemistry at Nottingham Trent University.
Oh, another Nottingham Trent. Fantastic. Thanks, Kirsty. And Karina?
Hi, I'm Karina. I studied software engineering at MMU.
Yeah. Perfect, lovely. And so you can see there from that we've got such a diverse background of people there. So lots of different universities and lots of different disciplines as well. So I think I'm fair to say, Maria, that you're open to the majority, if not all, STEM students, any STEM background, including things like, like business, economics, things like that as well. So they've definitely got something open to everybody at Experian. Right, top fact. I've heard these already, so I'm dead giddy. Jess, what is your top fact about Experian?
So all employees in the UK business for sure get 3 days volunteering to give back to the community, so to do whatever you want. So last year I spent mine volunteering at Glastonbury Festival.
Oh, well, that's a nice one, isn't it? Good one. Thank you very much, Jess. Sid, what's your top fact?
Yeah, so mine's more about how we use data in the business. We had a client of ours, Coca-Cola, wanted to put names on their bottles. I'm sure everyone's seen the campaign, and they wanted to know what the top 150 names are in each region of the UK, so they could make sure that they weren't wasting bottles on names that aren't that common in the area. So they came to us and asked us to kind of come up with the top 150 names to put on the bottles. So yeah.
That's great. That's amazing. I said to Sid before, so I haven't seen a Carla yet though, so I was very upset by that. But thank you very much, Sid. I wonder what the Yorkshire top names are. Oh, interesting. Anish, so it's like Carla get over being from Yorkshire. Anish, what's your top fact?
My top fact is that at the Nottingham office, there's a beehive in the, I was going to say the garden, but the car park.
Yeah.
And and as Jess mentioned, I think since it's part of your volunteering, I think there is an option to volunteer because it is like kept up, like maintained. Yeah.
So do you get the honey and then sell the honey at Experian as well then?
You know what? That's a good question. I'll ask that next time I'm in the office.
Yeah, that's what I'd like. I want some honey. Come on. Thank you very much, Anish. We've got a healthy theme so far. Kirsty, what's your top fact?
Continuing on the healthy theme, we get free fruit Tuesdays. So I know in the Nottingham office and the London office, it's definitely true. I'm not 100% sure about Glasgow, but if you go into the office, there's a whole box of fruit and you just get to take as many as you want for the whole day.
What's your fruit of choice?
Oh, pear. There's always some good pears.
Nice.
I had a pear in years. Yeah, good choice. Thank you, Kirsty. Prina?
So mine is from the data center tour. We had a data center tour at the beginning of when we started, and we learned that the temperature needs to be between 10 and 27.7 degrees for the data to be stored there. So yeah.
Brilliant. So this
Excellent.
data centre tour then, doesn't everybody get to go on that, or is it certain programs get to visit?
So my whole EITS sector, they all came into the office one day and we all had it together. But I know that Early Careers released like an invitation for us to be able to do it. So if you wanted to join, you could go. Yeah.
And this data centre, I'm guessing it's quite huge.
Yeah, it's quite a decent size.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting.
Like
Maria,
a lot of security as well.
Oh, I bet, yeah. Have you been on it, Maria, then as well?
I have, yes, I have. It's a
Oh.
really exciting tour. So it's yeah, a lot of it is kind of top secret. But there's really some, as Brina said, some really cool facts and things that you learn as you go through that you would have never known otherwise. So
yeah, Maria's thinking, don't ask me any more questions, Carla.
Yeah.
It's top secret. Move on quickly. I know that face. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to hand you over to Sophie in just a couple of minutes. But Maria, I'm going to look back to you. Tell me about the opportunities that you've got advertised on Gradcracker, and where will they be based, deadlines, all of the good stuff.
Yeah, so we've got loads of opportunities at the minute live on Gradcracker. Yeah. So if everybody wants to log on to our hub, then you'll be able to see which ones are kind of up there as well. Mm-hmm. Now, with all of our graduate roles, which I'll kind of cover which ones are live in a minute, but with all of our graduate roles, you also get access to our early careers development program as well. So these are kind of, packed full of a whole load of workshops and short courses and online material as well. So you'll hear a little bit more about that later too. But we tend to kind of classify our roles into three different pots, we say. So our IT and software engineering roles, our analytics roles, and then our commercial roles, which are our more kind of business, less techie focused roles. So within our IT and software engineering roles at the minute on Gradcracker, we've got our graduate software engineer vacancy, which is live. That is based in Nottingham. So ideal for anyone who loves to code. We've got our graduate technical consultant role as well in London. And that's really all around helping clients to get the most out of Experience products and data. So it's a nice blend between being a technical role, but also having a client focus as well.
Yeah.
We have our IT service management role, which is all around kind of our IT processes and delivering a brilliant service to customers, based in Nottingham, and our graduate IT infrastructure engineer as well. So if you've got that nice interest in hardware and software, that will be perfect for you as well. With our analytics opportunities, we've got our graduate data scientist opportunity based in Glasgow. That is for anyone who's passionate about data, and that role closes on Sunday. So if you are interested, get your application in.
Yes, definitely.
And then finally, our kind of commercial roles. So these are kind of our more business focused roles. So maybe not the typical ones you'd go to through Gradcracker, but we have our graduate product designer roles. So all around kind of solving problems, creating products for the users. Our business development graduates, so working as part of our business to business selling teams, and working in our solutions selling area. And then also a product manager role as well. And the product manager role is a really cool role actually. So it kind of brings together like product visions and market analysis and sort of client understanding and data and visionary thinking to essentially explore future product potentials that Experian might get involved in. So that's what's available at the minute. There's a few roles closing on Sunday or within the next week. I'm going to call out our IT service management and graduate infrastructure engineer roles. But we do have more roles coming up as well. So we'll have some more placement roles becoming available in the next couple of weeks, as well as some more graduate roles in like sales and risk and controls, software engineering and business analysis as well. So definitely keep an eye out on our hub. And follow us, or keep an eye out on the hub as well, and you'll be notified when they go live within the next month or so.
Perfect. Yeah, so a couple of things there to bring out of what Maria just said. So if you are like a technical student, wanting to stay in the technical world, like the world of coding, hardware, software, analytics, obviously there's Experian's got opportunities for you. If you want to go for more the commercial side of the business, there's opportunities for you as well. So there's plenty of choice on the hub on Gradcracker. And like Maria said, give them a quick follow, and then you will be alerted as soon as the other graduate opportunities and placements go live. So perfect. Thank you very much for that, Maria. Sophie, I'm going to hand over to you. Sophie's going to meet the grads in more detail and get to know them a little bit more.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Carla. And thank you very much for the introductions, everyone. I want to kind of come round and get to know a bit more about what you're doing at Experience right now. I know of all the roles that Maria just mentioned, we've got kind of someone from each pot on the webinar today. So it's going to be interesting to kind of find out a little bit more about all of your journeys. So Jess, I am going to start with you. You studied physics at Nottingham University. So what is your current role at Experian?
Yes, so I'm a software engineer and I'm in the consumer services area of the business, which is the area that provides credit information to our customers. So I've been here coming up to 18 months now. So I did 6 months in a back-end team processing credit reports, which I promise is much more exciting than I make that sound. And then I spent 6 months in a front-end team working on developing our website. And then I'm currently in a team that looks after the platform and makes sure the other teams can deliver.
So is each kind of project that you work on typically a 6-month project?
Not necessarily project wise. We're just put on 6-month rotations, so you can experience different teams, different technologies they use.
And how long is the program overall, Jess?
2 years.
2 years. So you've got one more rotation after this one.
Yeah. That's right.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Jess. I'm going to come over to you, Sid, next to find out about what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'm a graduate business analyst and I work within CIS. Specifically, it's called Marketplace. So we deal with the eligibility scores that you would see on a comparison site. So if you were to look for a credit card or loan, it would tell you, oh, you're 80% likely to get this product. We kind of run that part of a comparison site.
Fantastic. And can you tell us a little bit more about the team that you work in? Is it a big team, small team?
Yeah, so I'm part of a smaller team within Marketplace called the aggregator team. So I'm kind of responsible for maintaining relationships with aggregators, which are also called comparison sites. And then we work with a couple of other teams within Marketplace, API and hosted, which are the different decision solutions that we have for different lenders.
Okay, great. And as a business analyst, do you fall, which kind of 3 streams do you fall into? Do you fall into analytics or commercial or a bit of IT? What area of the business would you say you're in?
Probably, definitely all 3, I think.
All 3 sounds like it.
You get a good mix. Like 1 week you'll be doing a piece of analysis for a client, the next you'll be adjusting how the decisioning engine works, and then the next you'll be adding products to a comparison site, which is more the commercial side, doing all the testing and things. So yeah, it's kind of changes every day, it seems.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's a really good mix, isn't it? It gives you a good exposure across lots of different things. Fab, thank you very much, Sid. Right, Prina, next coming to you. Could you tell us a little bit more about your current role and team?
Yes, I'm on the IT service management graduate scheme and I'm currently on my 6-month placement on vendor management. So mine's also a rotational scheme.
Yeah.
So I will get experience on 4 different BUs within ITSM. So within my role, I mainly so I support one of the vendor managements with the UK and I relationship and governance for some of the tech and network vendors that sit with him. So I ensure like the governance is in place. So we do things such as like monthly business reviews and make sure that the suppliers are meeting their contractual obligations.
Okay, fantastic. And how long have you been with Experian in total?
This is my first.
That's your first.
rotation.
So okay,
Yeah.
okay. So your first 6 months. Okay, excellent. And can you tell us a little bit more about the team? Again, you know, what sort of size is it? Do you work with lots of different areas of the business, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we get the opportunity to work with a lot of clients because obviously it's vendor management, and then we also get the opportunity to work alongside a lot of different teams at the moment as well. Like I work quite closely with procurement at the moment because we're going through a contract renegotiation, and then finance. So yeah, we get the opportunity to work with a lot of different teams.
Great. So yeah, so you're working with quite a lot of external people and internal. So that's especially in your first ever kind of placement in the business, that's a lot of exposure and experience straight away, isn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. Thank you, Prina. Right, I'm going to come over to Arnish now. Could you tell us a little bit more about your role and your team?
Hi, so I'm currently I joined Experian as a graduate product manager back in September. So I'm currently on my first rotation. At the moment, I'm working with a team called Verifications and also Affordability, because they both share resources within the CIS domain, which stands for Consumer Information Services and Analytics. So it's like CIS and A. So it's mainly B2B products. So it's mainly business to business, and that could range from either major banks to things in the mortgage market. There's so many products. And yeah, just to give you a bit more outline of the team. So in terms of the team, a lot of the verifications team is new. They've been people that they've been acquired through acquisitions that Experian's done with startups. And so it's quite helpful that I'm in quite a young team. I'm not the only new person there as well. So that was quite useful, having exposure to so many people from other industries. And then also in terms of the role itself. So just to give a background in terms of product management, essentially you are there throughout the entire product cycle. So from the idea phase, okay, so we want to build this product. You work with the strategy team, you find out if there's like an actual need for this product, and then you present it. And once you've been given the go ahead, you can then take it onto the development phase. You're working with developers, you have exposure to all these different teams, testing. And then once that side is done, then you can move on to the marketing side. So you're getting exposure to the marketing teams, working with people like product marketers and stuff like that. And then the launch phase, the scary phase, you're launching it. And then it's not even just done there. You're now tracking it. How is it doing? Do we need to make improvements? Now, that process that I've just laid out, it can change depending on what side of the business you're on. So it can change depending on the context of the actual product. But that's in a nutshell what it actually is. So it's quite an entrepreneurial role. You have a lot of client exposure, but you're also exposed to a lot of like technical people. I have a technical background, but this was like a really good like balance for me between business minded and also still having exposure to like the technical side as well. And then yeah, it's that's essentially like what it kind of is.
That's brilliant. That's a really, really good overview. Thank you very much for that. It sounds like you get involved in so many. But it sounds like a complex role. You know, there's a whole host of different things that you're doing. So that's a really good overview of that particular role. So we'll be coming back to you in a few minutes, Anish, to find out a bit more about specific projects that you've been involved in so far. But I'm just going to jump over to Kirsty just to find out a little bit more about your current role and what you're doing and your team, please, Kirsty.
Yeah, so I'm a data analyst, and that can fit into a lot of different parts. I think there was quite a few of us that were brought on, but I'm specifically within what's called the data office, and then within the innovation team. So a lot of what I do at the minute is QAing, so quality assurance on projects that are in different sides of the business. And then I run the business to business reports that go out on a monthly basis. Again, similar to Anish, so it goes from like large banks to small car companies or mortgage lenders and all this. And a lot of my role is analysing all the data from those businesses as they come in, assessing how they compare to previous months and previous years that they've ran, and then making sure that that's all presentable and investigating any changes we've found before we send it back out to the clients. And that can also sometimes involve client queries. So I've been quite lucky in the fact that I've gone into quite a technical role in analysis, but I still get some exposure to clients as well, because they'll send questions to us and I'll be able to send back responses with more information I've been able to investigate. And within that role, it means I get to work with lots of teams within Experian. So we've got a separate team that sends me all these larger projects that I'm able to QA for them. So I have quite a lot of contact with them. I'm in meetings with them weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. And then I have more information with people that are in the wider innovation teams. So if they have an idea of something they want to implement into these business reports, I have to sit in and talk with them about those and how practical we think we are and what time we think we can get those in as well. But this again, I started in September, so this is just my first rotation. And then the next one I move on is to kind of one up from where I am to the slightly bigger reports. So I'll be starting to make those as well, rather than just making the smaller business to business ones.
Wow, I mean, in 6 months, that is a lot that you've done. I do kind of want to touch upon what you did at university and how that might relate to what you're doing now, because you did chemistry. which to me doesn't naturally lend, you don't always associate that with going into sort of a data role. So, you know, but I'm sure there must be elements of a chemistry degree where you are doing data analysis and data collection. So what made you then kind of move away purely from doing chemistry into where you are now?
Yeah, so in my third year of my degree, I was like, I'm definitely going to be in a lab. I'm going to go and do a lab placement. It's 1,000% where I want to be. And then I spent a year in a lab, and I enjoyed more of the time sitting in front of my desk with all that data I collected, analysing it, than I did in the lab collecting it. Because I think people forget that a lot of a chemistry degree, I spend my time in a lab collecting data that I now spend 4 times the amount of time analysing outside of it. So it does lead very well into it. And that meant when I got back from my placement and I was looking at final year projects, I could look for one that was more data analysis based. And I was quite lucky in the fact that the university I went to had a analytical chemistry specialism. So I was able to go and do a project that worked with coding and worked with more in-depth analysis. So when I got out of university, I was able to use some of those coding skills and my passion for data and analysis to find a job that really kind of fit with those passions for me.
Yeah. Wonderful. I mean, this is the benefit of doing a placement, isn't it? You know, going, you thought that was going to be your career. Can you imagine if you then went, finished university without that experience, you'd have ended up in a lab and, you know, thought this isn't where I want to be. But because you've had that experience of a placement, you've now gone, okay, well, I know exactly what I want to do when I graduate now. I'm going to go and work in data analysis. And then you've obviously found the role that's perfect for you. So that's great. And I think that's such, you know, students, listen up. This is why you do a placement before you finish, if you have the opportunity to. So thank you very much, Kirsty. We'll be coming back to you shortly again to find out a bit more about the project so far. But right now, Jess, I'm going to come back to you to find out more about what projects you've been working on since you joined Experian, or your favourite one, or anything you want to tell us about the projects.
Yes, so a standout one for me, which my second rotation, it timed perfectly to see a product right from the start to the finish. So we're working on a web page that helps customers understand what their credit score is. A lot of people log in and they'll see a number between 0 and 999 and they'll think, I don't know why I've got that score. So we developed a page where customers could see like their positive impact on their credit score, and also allowed them to see what was negatively affecting the score, so they could see where they needed to improve. So yeah, Experian has a really strong focus on not just giving a score and trying to like educate on what credit is and different things.
So tell me about how that project worked. Did you have to do the data analysis, or was it purely the web development element of that? What did you do behind the scenes?
Yes, so as a software engineer, you'll sort of get a design from the product designers, and then it's just implementing that into the code, integrating onto the website, sort of following all the different customer journeys. Yeah, so we didn't work on any of the designs, but just sort of implement them into a React application, so using JavaScript for any of them coders listening.
Perfect. And had you used JavaScript or done any sort of web development prior to this as part of your degree, or is this kind of quite fresh to you?
No, so I did obviously a physics degree. In that I did a bit of MATLAB, but my coding experience was really minimal. So pretty much everything I've learned has been through Experian, either through like a buddy or a mentor, or sort of the training provided.
So has the training, so have you had the opportunity to go on to kind of formal coding training programs, or has it mostly been by learning, like just on the job?
Yeah, so we were given a few workshops, but it's heavily just sort of learning by doing, asking loads of questions. Sort of at the start when you first join, you'll do a lot of pair programming. So someone over your shoulder giving you a hand, and we get a lot of resources where we can sort of self-learn, and we get personal developed time that allows us to do that.
Fantastic. So loads of support to learn the skills that you need. I'm going to ask you a similar question to that I just asked Kirsty, because going from a physics degree where you hadn't done very much coding, like you just said, to then applying for a software engineering graduate scheme, what made you decide that was where you wanted to go?
I would be lying if I said that I always wanted to be a software engineer. I think even up until my first week at Experian, I was like, do I really want to sit and code all day? I think I was always interested in IT. Obviously, software engineering comes into so many different sectors. sectors. There's so many different options. That's such a good skill to sort of have. And obviously Experian are a great employee for early careers and the development opportunities we get. And I wanted to stay in Nottingham, so it all just fit into place.
It ticked all the boxes.
Yeah, it did.
But I think it's that's great that you've kind of ended up where you are now, and you're obviously really, really enjoying it. But it's also a really good point to kind of highlight to our audience today that just because you don't have that coding experience doesn't mean that you can't go on and become a software engineer at Experian, because you're given the support that you need. So thank you very much for that, Jess. I am going to come across to you, Sid, now, just to find out a little bit more about some of the projects that you've been involved in Experian so far.
Yeah, so I guess the biggest one is one that was kind of already been started when I joined, but the team was developing a new comparison site for a client. And so given that we do a lot of work for comparison sites, building a whole new one, it was quite an interesting experience to see all the ins and outs of how they work and all the testing that's required for putting products live on aggregators and working with all the lenders to make sure that they're happy with all the testing that we complete. So that was probably the biggest one, and now that's live, so it was quite cool to see. You can kind of monitor all the people coming in and like kind of see people getting offers for actual products. It was quite interesting.
So what sort of technologies and what things did you have to learn to be able to do that project, Sid?
So our team and business area predominantly uses SQL, which I had no experience with. It's essentially a coding language for databases.
Yeah.
So there was kind of multiple sessions that were run that the business area organised for us. All the new graduates that came in spent a couple of days just getting to grips with the language. Some of us has never coded before. Yeah. So understanding how like best practices for getting efficient code and things like that. So there was a lot of like days of training, but a lot of the things you learn just tend to come from actually doing projects, which is an interesting thing. I wasn't expecting to be doing actual work straight away, because I would feel like I wouldn't be trusted with it, because it's my like kind of first job and things. So it's kind of nice to know that there's that trust there for you to experiment really and get to grips with what you'll be doing.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So how long did that project last that we've been talking about? How long did it take you start to finish?
I'm not sure how long it was going on for before I joined, but it kind of finished around the start of December, I think. So I joined in September, and so I was always we do multiple projects at once, but I was always in and out of that project quite regularly. So yeah, about 3 months.
And how do you manage that then? So like you said, if you're on multiple projects at once, how do you kind of have the time management of knowing what to do and when? Is that kind of delegated to you, or do you have to manage your own workload?
So a bit of both. Experian, at least in our business area, we use Kanban boards and sprints and the agile way of working. So the team has a Kanban board. You all have tickets on there that you are either assigned or you pick up from a backlog. And then you can kind of move that around on your own board to do blocked, in review, done. So you can always keep track of what you're doing. Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of an easy way of tracking all these projects that you're involved with.
Yeah, fantastic. And I suppose it's like, for anyone listening thinking, oh, how am I going to manage my time well and do stuff like that when I'm at a workplace? It's similar when you're at university and you've got multiple assignments or assessments going on. You have to manage your time there. So it's just transferring that skill into the workplace. And obviously, like you said throughout this, Sid, you've got a lot of support from colleagues and people around you as soon as you start to kind of help you with that as well. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much for sort of letting us know what you've been up to. And then Prina, coming over to you, could you tell us a little bit more about projects you've been involved in so far?
Yeah, so there's currently a project going on where a company that we deal with, a third-party vendor, their contract is about to come to an end. So we're making the decision whether to renew with that vendor or whether to go to tender with a new vendor. So we've had to do a lot of things to do with that project, in terms of we're working with a project manager to develop a project plan, just to see like how long each service line will take to move out, etc. And then we've worked with procurement to go through the proposal of the contract that's been sent by the current vendor that we're using. We also did something called a benchmarking exercise, which was to see whether the rates that have been proposed are good for value compared to what is in the market already. So currently the vendor is going to be coming down at the end of the month to start the negotiations. So the negotiations are going to be in person, which is quite interesting.
Oh wow, that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
And have you done any sort of face-to-face client meetings or anything like that yet?
Yeah, so I have them like every week anyway.
Okay, cool.
And we have them, but not anything to do with the negotiations, but we've been discussing it for so long. Now it's finally happening. So it's going to be interesting to see how everyone plays their cards.
Yeah, no, that'll be really interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a very business focused commercial project that you seem to be working on at the moment, within sort of IT.
Yeah.
But you did a software degree.
Yeah.
So this leads me on to, within IT service management then, is it much more commercial and business focused than say coding and things like that? Or is there going to be opportunity to use your more kind of software skills in future rotations?
And so with me, I think mine was the opposite of Jess, where I realized I didn't want to do a very software like focused degree. I mean, job. So I think there is the opportunity to do more IT based roles. Like for me, I work with a lot of tech vendors, so we have a lot of tech discussions going on anyways. And the network vendors, we work quite closely with the network team, but within the other rotations that I've looked through, there are ones within like operational intelligence, etc. So you have the opportunity to do a more tech-based role in your next rotation. So it's just what you decide to do, I guess. And they always work with you to help you do what you want to do instead of just making that decision for you.
So when you saw the IT service management role and you saw what it entailed, and, the opportunity to have that kind of more business focus, that was what drew you into that program, rather than because you were kind of looking for the opposite of what you'd actually done at uni, but having that background in it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed like working with people, because in my previous role, I did a similar thing where I really enjoyed working with clients. And that was when I was studying still, doing my software engineering degree. So I realized I wanted that aspect still involved in my future role. So I kind of wanted to combine the two, but not still have it too tech focused. So that's why I chose this specific role.
That's fantastic. I think that's really interesting. And like just from the journeys that we've heard so far of everyone's different backgrounds and why they've chosen to go where they've chosen to go, it just shows you that there really is something for everybody at Experian. So that's great. So thank you very much, Prina, for giving us that kind of overview. Anish, I'm going to come over to you now just to hear a little bit more about your favourite project or anything else you want to kind of tell us about the projects you've been involved in so far.
Yeah, so since I've started at September, I'm not that deep into a lot of projects, but recently it has ramped up. So let's get into that. So
cool.
When I first joined, they were slowly trying to get me into things. But like I said, my team is very new, so things are moving all the time. And I kind of prefer that type of environment, because when there's flexibility, you've got a chance to kind of go out of your way and kind of suggest things, because they're really open to hear. Like that's one thing I've noticed with my team. They're really open to hearing new ideas from someone else, even if they're not like an industry expert. So the first project that I got to work on was investigating the onboarding process for one of our products for our clients. So essentially what an onboarding process is, it's like when you buy a new phone, so say if you just bought the new iPhone, you don't just turn it on and it works straight away. You kind of have to log in, you have to do all these different things. If you're coming over from an Android phone, there's an option for that. So each option and situation is catered for. That's essentially what we need to be doing for our clients, and just making sure that they're happy, because if you have a terrible experience just setting your phone up, then you're not going to just have a favorable opinion about the device itself. So your first impressions are very important. So as part of this workload, because not only as a product manager, you're not just working on products that are brand new. You sometimes have to improve existing products. So this role was just essentially looking into, can we onboard as many clients if we had like a huge influx? So it was kind of like an investigative piece where I was doing both, looking into data and actually interpreting the data in terms of all these different data points that we look at when we're onboarding clients, but also speaking to people. Now, I said I did electrical engineering before, earlier in the call. However, in my final year, it was kind of more software oriented because my entire final year project was around machine learning, because you got to pick what side you want to go into. So I had a lot of exposure on the tech side of things. And then instead of carrying on to do a master's in engineering, I decided to do project management 1 year internship in London. And that was just like mind-opening because I really enjoyed the client-facing side as well. And with this type of project that I've recently done in onboarding, it was quite interesting because you'd think I'd struggle because normally the data side's more hard. But for me, I found the actual speaking to different people from different teams, whether it's a technical consultant or someone in sales, the way you speak to people is very different, and figuring out these little things was very interesting because you can learn a lot. So that was a really interesting experience. But once that project was finished at the start of this month, what I've been currently placed on that I'm really enjoying at the moment is at Experian with my graduate role, you kind of have to go out of your way sometimes to actually be clear about what you want out of the placement as well, because it's a 6-month rotation. As much as they can tell you what they want you to be doing, you kind of have to put your ideas forward if you have a specific thing you want to work on. So I had this idea that since I've done like a 1-year placement, I thought maybe I could take on a bit more workload. And I said, I really want to be able to say that at the end of this 6-month rotation, I've owned something. So they've put me in charge of this one specific feature for a product. I can't really go into too much detail about things, but essentially, one of the things that came out of this new project that I've been placed on is we know that this existing feature needs to be improved and we're trying to see if there's a technological solution to that. Now, one interesting thing that a product manager that I worked with did was get together all his connections in terms of people in like the development side, people that are on like the architecture side, so solution architecture, all these people together and kind of just start a discussion. And I found that so interesting because it was useful because I could kind of understand a lot of the words being thrown around, the terminology being thrown around, and kind of be this like middleman where you kind of translating between the non-technical people and the technical people, and just like being in that whole area and getting this ball rolling. It kind of really taught me a lot of things around that. It's not because when I was at university, I was like, well, the technical side is the most important side, but seeing that the non-technical side is just as important, just to get the thing, because you don't want to be building something that's not even needed. So it's like, so a lot of things being thrown around, and it's like I think mentioned earlier, you kind of have to juggle your workload, and like that's where like being at university really helped because you're managing multiple assignments at the same time. So this overall has been quite useful in that sense. But
fantastic. I mean, I think that's a really good point that you've mentioned, that quite often you can, especially if you're going into a technical role, think that the technical element of it is going to be the kind of most important thing. But you've just proven in the first 6 months of Experian, with the range of people that you've worked with and the different types of scenarios and situations and meetings and projects that you've been involved in, that actually the softer skills and the people skills can be just as important in your career. So I think that's something that is quite often kind of underestimated when you are looking at, especially looking at a technical role, but on the face of it, you might think is, I'm going to be coding or I'm going to be working on technical projects, but actually there's still always going to be that business element. There's always going to be that person element. So I think that's a really good point. And it's nice to hear that as well, you've taken the initiative to go to people in the team saying, I think I can do this. And again, this is something that we always encourage to our graduates and placement students is, you are in charge of your own career, and the majority of graduate and undergraduate employers want you to be able to go to them and say, okay, I'm lacking in this area, I'd like to do some more here, or I think I can pick something else up here. It's a great attitude to have. So I think you've touched on a lot of points there, Anish, that were really, really useful. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to just come to you, Kirsty, finally, to find out a bit more about your projects before coming back to Carla on the recruitment process and things. So yeah, Kirsty, tell us everything.
So my role day to day is very busy and it's quite intense. So we don't have ongoing projects that will last months in the position that I'm in, because it's kind of a delivery based team, so it's continuous. So when I joined the role, they kind of said, once you've settled in and you're comfortable doing everything you need to do, go through and find something that you would like to work on for the 6 months you're here. So I'd spend a lot of my time working with various scripts and various templates to produce all these reports and complete analysis. And during that time, I'll find templates and things that I feel like we could improve or we could make it easier to work with. So the current project I'm working on is a specific template for using a specific set of files to pull important data for clients and make sure that it fits very well with previous years running. So I'm teaching myself VBA, which is the code that they use for Microsoft engines like Excel and Word. And in doing that, I'm making different macros and buttons and essentially an Excel sheet that will do that process for me without having to manually move data around. So all of my projects and processes so far have been improvement projects, so that when I leave the team in a couple of months, the next person will be able to do those things quicker. And then if I don't have the time, I've got time to pass on what I've done and the next person picks up and carries on.
Fantastic. I bet they love you for that. And how have you gone about teaching? You said you're teaching yourself VBA, which I'd not heard of before, being totally honest. How are you teaching yourself that? So
Experian's quite good. They've got quite a lot of learning platforms. So we've got a whole e-learning section which houses thousands upon thousands of videos and workspaces and all this that have all those kind of coding languages ready to pick up. But I also know that there's quite a few people around me that were competent in it. So I was able to know that my manager's manager is very good at it and someone else in that team is very competent with it. So I could set up meetings with them, organize to see their previous work, organized to use different software things that Experian have paid for previously to look for different courses that I could work from, and then doing kind of like Jess and Sid, while I'm working on it, I'm learning it. So it's a lot of like, as you go, you're teaching yourself, but there's always people that you can go back to for support.
Brilliant. And I mean, just everything you've said there, you know, you've taken the initiative again, haven't you? It's kind of what we've touched upon here. You know, you've gone out and you've learned, you've asked people, you've gone to their previous work, and it's a really good example to kind of set. I know you said the next project that you're going to be working on is bigger data sheets or some words to that effect. Well, could you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like?
So that's my next rotation. I'm already starting training for that because it's going to be a very quick handover and I have to train the person that comes into my rotation on what I'm doing.
Wow.
But essentially I'm doing monthly and bi-monthly and quarterly business to business reports right now. But sometimes a business wants a more in-depth report with a specific set of data that goes back multiple years rather than just the previous month. So essentially what I'll be doing is writing individual settings and scripts for these things with the specific stuff that they want. So the client will get in contact with us or with a consultant and they'll discuss how much they're willing to pay, what they want for it, and then we'll be given the opportunity to write individual scripts to adjust their settings, make sure it implements everything they want, and then run it before sending it back to them.
Brilliant. Okay, so you're just learning more and more in depth the whole time as you progress through.
Yeah,
fantastic. Well, I've loved hearing about all of your projects and roles so far. I could talk to you probably for about another 3 hours, but Carla will probably kill me. So I'm going to hand back to Carla now to find out more about, you know, how everyone's going to rush off and apply now.
I think something else that's come out of this that I'm sure you'll agree is interesting is that you're all learning new stuff, but then you're also training and developing other people that are coming into your roles and things like that. And that's something that we do at Experience a lot. You know, you're doing the actual role, but then training other people, which I think is amazing. And it's a different skill, isn't it? Actually training and developing other people into what you're doing. So yeah, fascinating. I think I might just fit in another question with the grads, Maria, but we definitely have enough time to spend together. And it's just moving up surface, like you told me to can't stop talking at 10.
I know, I'm like, I rushed through for you.
I know. So outside of kind of the day job, this is, you know, another thing that I really like to get to know about. So outside the day job, what other things do you get up to, like as graduates, as teams there at Experian? Just to share your insights with us.
Yes, we get opportunities to do loads of things outside of our day jobs. I previously obviously mentioned the volunteering that I've done. we also have an early careers social committee, which I'm part of. A lot of students come to Nottingham after being like relocated from their families, don't really have many friends in the area. So I think it's really important to have like a social group where we can do stuff outside of work, can organise different events at different venues. It can be at bars, so more drinking focused, or we've done ice skating, we do games nights in the office. So yeah, it's just organising that, making sure everyone's making friends. It's really good networking to other people in different business areas as well.
So there's lots to do to get that community feel together.
Yeah, definitely.
And Sid, is there anything that you wanted to add to that? Is there anything that exciting that you get up to?
This week I started something called boot camp.
Ooh.
So during lunch on a Monday and a Wednesday, there's like a fitness kind of thing going on where you get quite dirty, and you do it in like, it was snowing on Monday, so it was not great, but yeah, kind of lots of people come and get some exercise done, and it's quite a nice atmosphere, just all trying to improve ourselves.
I'm guessing it's all outside then.
Yes, unfortunately.
Oh dear. Yeah. Or fortunately, if you like to get mud, I know, so it's like, no, it's not for me. Anish, is there anything exciting that you do differently to Jess and Sid?
So in terms of the team side of things, when I first joined, what I realized straight away was like they do stuff that is quite different outside of work. So for example, when I first joined, we were all invited to the London office, and there was like people from different teams within our like domain. So yeah, and the whole day I thought it might have been like a work type of day. I brought my laptop and everything, but instead it was a team building day. So it was literally just a day so that we all get to know each other, because since this team has grown so large, like I said earlier on, that a lot of people have came over from startups that have been recently acquired. So a lot of people don't really know each other that well. So the whole day we spent just team building, doing like random activities, nothing work related. And then at the end, we went out on a social in London, and it was quite nice because I'm there talking to people, and they're just telling you about their life. And then when, because you don't really talk about work, when at the end of the conversation, like, oh, so what do you do? I realize I'm speaking to very senior people. I'm like, oh wow, I've just been like talking really chill to these like people. I'm like, if I knew about their like title beforehand, I wouldn't have said half the things I've said. So it's like when they're asking me what you get up to at uni, I'm like, yeah, I did all this. And then they're like, oh, actually, I'm not even going to say the title, but they were very senior people. I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, so that was quite interesting. Yeah, so
sometimes it's
like
best just not knowing.
That does happen like every quarter. Yeah. Honestly.
Oh, good.
Hopefully they don't remember. So yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think you've got a memorable face. Thanks, Anish. Kirsty, what else do you get up to?
I'm part of the Graduate Climbing Society. Well, it's not really a society, but it's a group. Because when we first started, obviously, like Jess said, there's quite a lot of people that move from all over and don't have people to talk to or friends that they would normally see. And what happened was that quite a few of us realized that we were into kind of indoor climbing and bouldering. So it's turned into a fairly regular occurrence where we just have a little like WhatsApp chat, and it's like, oh, well, I'm going to this particular bouldering place on Monday. Is anyone else available? And you'll meet with a couple of people, and it kind of changes who you see week on week.
Oh, good. So obviously you had this interest before you started at Experian.
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a few people that like they get dragged in by a different graduate. We've got one lad that me and another data analyst are like, come on, Sam, you can do it. And he's like, oh, no, I'm interested. And we're like, yeah, well, we know where you are now, so we can drag you. But quite a few people have already started, and you just kind of bring more people along, which is quite nice.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Kirsty. Prina, anything else?
I feel like I need to get involved in more things now.
Well, you've got lots to go at.
But with my team, we have a meeting once a month in the office. So afterwards, we always go out for food and drinks. And the same with the ITSM grads. So there was me and another boy hired in my year's intake, and then the same in the previous. So sometimes we do things together, like social things, and
Oh,
Yeah. Next time,
nice.
Karina, when we do, you'd be like, yeah, I go rock climbing, I do this, I go to football, I do everything.
I'm gonna have to up my game.
Yeah. No problem at all. Thank you very much, Peter. Sorry, Maria, I am coming to you now, but I just think these insights, the things outside of work, the social aspect is a massive thing to experience. I did just want to fit that in there, and I do apologise, Sophie and Maria. I don't know, I'm apologising to Sophie, to be perfectly honest. Right, Maria, so we've obviously inspired the students to apply to all of your fantastic opportunities. Tell me about the application process, please.
Yeah, so the application process is really designed around you as a candidate, and it's really designed, to kind of be a nice, simple, short process as well, without putting you through too many hoops, and being done in the quickest time frame as well. So the first stage is to apply online with your CV. Sorry, I've got a frog.
It's all the excitement, Maria.
I know
it
is. So yeah, the first stage is to apply online with your CV. So for those jobs that are open now on the hub, you'll be able to find the links to apply and everything through there. And then, as I say, register interest in ones upcoming. If you're successful from CV stage, then we'll invite you to do some online testing. So really that's just to help us understand a bit more about your natural thought processes. And if you're successful from that stage, we'll invite you to video interview. So that's a one-way pre-recorded video interview, which just really helps us to get to know you a little bit more on a personal and professional level as well. And then if you're successful, then we would invite you into assessment centre, which is the final stage of our process. So that would be, taking place with a group exercise, an interview, and then we have a non-assessed networking session as well. So kind of similar today, where you'll chat to current grads and just get to find out a little bit more about what they do and their role and life at Experian and all the cool things that we get up to and the fun bits in the office, really. So that's the kind of final stage there as well. Probably sounds like quite a lot. In total, it depends on the role, but generally our total application process for a role is about 12 weeks on average. So yeah, it's all of the kind of dates are outlined in the job ad as well, in terms of when our assessment centres are planned in for. So you'll be able to see on them too.
Perfect. And I'd like to guess, Maria, that you've probably read thousands of CVs and applications and everything else during your early career. What hints and tips would you give them? What do you want to see from students when they do apply to Experian?
Yeah, so I think the first one is key, not just for Experian, but for applying to any kind of careers opportunity as well. But it's really making sure that you're getting that CV format right. We do see a lot of graduate CVs, and our roles are quite competitive. And so really just kind of having a look at some really great templates. There's some brilliant graduate CV templates online. Just kind of having a look and just making sure your CV's no more than 2 pages long, ideally, and really just calling out the skills and experience that you have in a really clear format, because as a recruiter, we'll kind of have a lot of CVs to look through, so you want to make sure that you're really calling out those bits that might be related to the role. And I think as well, when you're looking at your CV and thinking about why you might want to apply to opportunity, just thinking around your USP as well. And it's not all just about what a company can give you in a particular role, it's all around what you can bring to them as well. So that's why we want to know about those skills and experiences. So don't discount any skills and experience that you've got because you think it might not be relevant to the role. We'd rather know, and you pop it on your CV there as well. And then I guess the final thing is more a piece of advice than anything else, really. But just don't worry if you don't have all of the experience, because at Experian, we're not looking for you to have, tick off every single bit already. As loads of the grads have said, you learn on the job a lot. And so really what we're looking for is potential and that passion and enthusiasm in what we do, rather than necessarily requiring you to have all of the skills already. So
yeah. And I think it's the basics as well, isn't it? Making sure your contact details are up to date, all of that sort of stuff, because we hear horror stories of, incorrect email addresses or telephone numbers and things like that. So it is going right back to basics, isn't it? When you put your CV together. And do you like to see like a personal statement on a CV as well, Maria? Is that something that you look out for?
Yeah, so we usually a kind of personal statement at the top of your CV is good. We don't require a covering letter when you kind of apply to us. However, as part of our recruitment system, when you apply, there is the option to do kind of like a bit of a personal summary as well. And so we would encourage you to do that as well, to just, you know, give a bit of an overview about why you're interested in joining us and the opportunity, for example, as well.
Yeah, and then from your point of view, Maria, last question. I know we've spoken about there's many benefits to working at Experian. Is there any ones in particular you'd like to highlight as part of the webinar?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of the kind of training and development, we've really kind of touched on that quite a lot in there. But it's really kind of tailored, nice personal kind of development, really. So you'll have a 1 week kind of face-to-face induction in the office with all of our graduates when you join, or placement students if you're a placement, and you can actually check out our Gradcracker hub for our 2022 induction video that has just gone live, to get a bit of a kind of insight into what that could look like for you. And then your early careers development program will pick up from there. So as Jess mentioned earlier, it's a 2-year early careers development program, runs alongside your role, and is really packed full of those kind of, you know, skill sessions and keynote speakers and workshops. And the graduate opportunity itself is a permanent opportunity. So that's really designed to kind of kickstart your career. And then, loads of other training and development. So online learning platforms, on the job training, loads of other things like that. And then in terms of the benefits package you get, it's really, really competitive. So you of course have your starting salary as you join with us as a graduate, but then you also have access to our full company benefits as well. So things like our pension scheme, our share purchase plan, we have a bonus scheme as well, in addition to loads of other things like discounts and things. And then I think what sets us apart from a lot of other employers is what's hopefully come out today is just that kind of nice community feel. The office is really cool. It's a really nice place to be, and actually it's a really fun place to work is how I'd say it as well. And I think that's a key benefit that's not always mentioned on job ads and things like that, but it's really important as part of that culture and making sure that a job and a company is the right fit for what you're looking for as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Maria. That's a perfect ending to a perfect webinar. So as you can see, as Maria said right at the beginning, if you can remember that far back, there's lots of opportunities currently open on Gradcracker. There's lots opening, so follow, but there are deadlines looming. So don't forget, Maria said, you know, this Sunday, and then some imminent deadlines after this weekend as well. So make sure you don't miss out on the opportunities and get your applications in. This webinar will be live if you wanted to re-watch this afternoon, so give us half hour, 45 minutes or so, then this webinar will be live, and we'll also break it down into bite-sized helpful hints and tips and chunks, which will be live on Monday. So look out on the Experian hub on Gradcracker for those snippets as well. So thank you all for joining us today. It's been brilliant, you know, really eye-opening to the kind of business Experian is and the kind of grads that Maria is looking for. So basically all STEM, the world's your oyster, get your applications in sooner rather than later. So thank you, everybody. Me and Jessica's back, is going to be joining us next week. We're speaking to DNV, Insurance and Risk Management Company. So I'd like to see you then. And if I was going to say, if not, then good luck with your applications. Get your applications into Experian, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye-bye.